Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It is Super Bowl week, Super Bowl 58, Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. OMG. I can't wait for this game, guys. The 49ers and the Chiefs. Wow. This is going to be so much fun. Brock Purdy is the lowest drafted quarterback to start in a Super Bowl. There was a couple undrafted guys like Kurt Warner, but Mr. Irrelevant is starting in a Super Bowl in his second season. Pretty impressive stuff. The 49ers are making their 8th Super Bowl appearance, while the Chiefs are making their 6th Super Bowl appearance. Mahomes is 3-0 versus San Francisco, including a 31-20 victory at Super Bowl 54. If you haven't yet, don't be shy. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel so you can continue to get all my NFL and sports content. In today's video, we're going to break down the entire game between the 49ers and the Chiefs. We're going to look at both offenses and both defenses and see where we see advantages for each of these teams. Where do they have to execute in order to win this game? I think a lot of people out there do not want to see the Chiefs win another Super Bowl. I am one of those people. I'm putting out tons of content saying how the Chiefs are going to blow out the 49ers, hoping somehow the 49ers take that juju and run with it and come out with a victory so we don't have to see Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift on the field one more time. Okay, first I want to break down the Kansas City Chiefs offense. Patrick Mahomes leads this offense. He had one of his most least effective regular seasons, 27 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, around 260 yards per game. But man, playoff Pat just hits different. 0 interceptions in those 3 games. And he's only been sacked twice. Playoff Pat, man. Playoff Pat is just so good. Listen to this. In all 6 losses that the Kansas City Chiefs have endured this season, Patrick Mahomes has thrown at least 1 interception. In the last 3 games, 0 interceptions, 68% completion percentage, and 4 touchdowns, and 100.7 rate. He's been getting it done each and every week. Him and Travis Kelce have dominated, absolutely dominated. Kelce had a pretty good regular season, even though he battled through some injuries. 93 catches, 984 yards. Travis Kelce is another one of those guys that just turns it up a notch when the playoffs come. 11 targets, 11 catches, 3 touchdowns in his last 2 games. He had 116 yards. It's pretty unbelievable how a guy you have to stop in Travis Kelce. You have to stop him. Harbaugh and the Ravens had to stop Kelce, but they absolutely couldn't. 11 targets, 11 catches. That's all she wrote. He also broke the record for most playoff receptions in NFL history. Mahomes and Kelce are both first ballot Hall of Famers. No doubt about it. So how are they going to play this game? The 49ers defense on paper looks pretty good, right? But then if you look at the box score from last week versus the Lions, they got absolutely shredded by the run. That's why I like Isaiah Pacheco in this spot for fantasy. He's not going to be too expensive if you're playing DraftKings or FanDuel, and I'm telling you guys, he's going to eat. The Detroit Lions have a really good offensive line. Don't get me wrong. But they couldn't stop them at all. 6.3 yards per carry, 183 yards. Yikes. I think Pacheco has a big day. He runs super hard. He's so tough. He's such a violent runner. I'm thinking he gets at least 20 carries, between 85 and 120 yards. I think he could absolutely eat in this game. Patrick Mahomes doesn't really spread the ball out too much in his offense. It's either going to Travis Kelce or Rashee Rice, and that's about it. He will dump the ball into the backfield sometimes or throw it to one of the other receivers, maybe 2 or 3 times in the entire game. He's going to look for Kelce, he's going to look for Rice, and he's going to look for Pacheco to pound the rock in between the tackles. The 49ers defense has been a little disappointing for me. They were really good in the regular season. They held quarterbacks to a 79.6 rate. That's 4th in the NFL, and only 6.4 yards per attempt. That's 5th best in the NFL. They have a really good defense, and they force a ton of turnovers. 28 turnovers, which is tied for 5th in the NFL, but the last couple weeks, they haven't looked like that defense. I don't know if they're running on fumes. 2 weeks off because they didn't play a lot of their starters in the last week of the season. Then they got the bye. Were they kicking off a little rust? Those last two games, I don't know, but they have to play a little bit better for sure. They're actually really good against the tight end. They've held tight ends this season to an 86.3 rate. That's fourth best in the NFL. But last week, Sam Laporta for the Lions, he ate. And he ate well, 9 catches, 97 yards. The one thing that really concerns me about this San Francisco 49ers defense is effort, man. You saw that Chase Young play, chasing after the Lions running back, just kind of gave up on the play, man. You guys are going to have to play lights out to stop Patrick Mahomes. And a lackadaisical effort is not going to get it done. It's simply not going to get it done. I like the 49ers defense. Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, I mean, they're freaking stacked. Javon Hargraves on the D-line. Their defense is great. I just don't know what defense shows up because they got manhandled in the trenches last week by the Detroit Lions offensive line. Absolutely manhandled. The Lions rushed the ball 29 times, 182 yards, 6.3 yards a carry, and 3 touchdowns. That's not going to get it done. If the 49ers want to win this game, they have to stop Travis Kelce and they have to stop the run. Or at least one of them. Both of those guys can't eat. Like last week, it's just not going to fly. They have to really shut down one of those elements for the Kansas City Chiefs offense. It's either got to be Kelce, double, triple team him, make somebody else beat you, or you really got to stack the box and stop the run. Have Pacheco under 60 yards, under 15, 16 carries. Force Mahomes to throw the ball and hope you can force a couple turnovers. You want Nick Bosa to get home? That's a matchup we have to watch out for. Nick Bosa versus right tackle Jawan Taylor for the Chiefs. Right tackle Jawan Taylor led the NFL in penalties. 22 total flags. He could have his hands full with Nick Bosa, who had 10.5 sacks, 35 QB hits, which is good enough for second in the NFL, and he had 2 sacks last week, coming up big when they needed him. Now, we're going to move on to the offensive side of the ball for the San Francisco 49ers. There's not a more stacked team on paper than the 49ers. Christian McCaffrey, in my opinion, is the MVP in the NFL. If you take him off the 49ers, their offense is a shell of what it is with him. CMC can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run between the tackles. The dude is an absolute stud. Their offense nearly had 3 pass catchers with over 1,000 yards, 28.9 points per game, which is third in the NFL, 10 30-plus point games, including the playoffs. That ranks third. They're 8th in rushing attempts, but they're dead last in passing attempts. But that's not as glaring as it might seem. That means they're just incredibly efficient when they throw the ball, and they look to run the ball with Christian McCaffrey first and have their deep plays down the field set up on play action based on what Christian McCaffrey is doing. McCaffrey is a stud. The absolute biggest stud in the NFL. 1,459 rushing yards. That's number one. 14 touchdowns. 5.4 yards per carry. They're 12-1 when Christian McCaffrey runs over 75 yards in 2023. And if he goes over 75 yards, I think they win again in this game. They got to get it done. Last week, 20 carries, 90 yards, 4.5 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns versus the Lions. McCaffrey is the lifeblood of this offense, but don't sneeze on Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is incredible against the blitz. 132.3 rate versus the blitz. That's the best in the NFL. 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions versus the blitz. You can't really blitz Purdy or he's going to torch you down the field. He's got incredible weapons like George Kittle, over 1,000 yards this year. He's really, really, really good. But Kansas City, on the other side of the ball on defense, is very good against the tight end. They held tight ends to an 87.5 rate, and Kansas City loves the blitz. 37.5% blitz rate. That's 5th most in the NFL. So something's got to give. If Kansas City's going to blitz, Purdy's going to have the opportunity to torch them. And San Francisco has done a really good job protecting Brock Purdy. He's only taken 34 sacks on the year. Super, super good. Super good. I want to see George Kittle get involved a little more in this game. If San Francisco wants to win, they got to get him more than 2 catches versus Detroit and 4 catches versus the Packers. 6 total catches, 108 yards. I don't know, man. That's not good enough. Kittle needs the ball more. If you've been watching any coverage on the Super Bowl, Brock Purdy has been getting a ton of flack, and I think it's pretty unwarranted, man. You can't deny what he accomplished in the regular season. 31 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 113-point rate, 72.7 QBR, 9.6 yards per attempt, all first. And then he threw for 4,280 yards. That's fifth best in the NFL. But the last 2 weeks, he's not been super great. In the rain against Green Bay, he was pretty mediocre. 23 of 39, 252. Last week versus the Lions, 20 of 31, 267. I mean, he's not blowing anyone's doors down, that's for sure. He needs to be a little bit better, a little more efficient. I would like to see him complete between 65 and 70% of his passes if they want to win this game. But he has done a really good job when the pocket breaks down, using his legs to get big chunks of yards and running for first down. That's going to be huge against Kansas City because the Chiefs blitz a lot. Fifth highest blitz rate in the NFL. So they're going to be coming for Brock Purdy. So he's going to have to escape the initial rush and make some plays on his feet. And I think he's going to be able to do that. Then we move on to the wide receivers, Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel. Aiyuk has been incredible this year. 75 catches, 1,342 yards. And Deebo, no slouch either. 60 catches, 892 yards. And to wrap things up, let's talk about the defense real quick because we were just talking about the receivers. We have cornerback L'Jarius Sneed, who had that great punch out at the goal line versus Zay Flowers that really sealed the game for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's going to be locked on Brandon Aiyuk because he travels with the team's best receiver. That means Trent McDuffie, the all-pro slot corner, will be covering Deebo Samuel. The Kansas City Chiefs defense has been really good this year. 17.3 points per game allowed. That's second. And they're also second in yards allowed per game. This defense is really good. Steve Spagnuolo is one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL. They only had 17 turnovers, so they're not a team that, forces a lot of fumbles or interceptions. So they're going to need to force some turnovers against Brock Purdy in this game. They've also held opponents under 21 points in 7 of their last 8 games, including the playoffs. So this defense is really firing on all cylinders. And that's why they beat Baltimore, just like I was talking about a little bit earlier. They got to get takeaways. 3 takeaways versus the Baltimore Ravens. Huge in that game. The turnovers are what lost the game for the Ravens and won it for the Chiefs. The Ravens were also held to being only 4 for 17 on third down. If you can stop teams on third down and force turnovers, you're going to win a lot of games. But Kansas City has a big task at hand. San Francisco is 48% on third down in 2023 and over 55% in their last 3 games. Something's got to give here, guys. This is the matchup I'm most interested in. Patrick Mahomes is going to find a way to score points. But can Brock Purdy and this offense consistently move the ball down the field versus this Kansas City Chiefs defense? They're very well coached. They're fundamentally sound. I like the Chiefs defense. I think it's going to be tough sledding for Brock Purdy. If there is one way to beat the Kansas City defense, it's their rush defense. So Christian McCaffrey has to have a really big game. If Christian McCaffrey goes for over 100 yards, the 49ers got this. Because the Kansas City Chiefs rush defense, 4.5 yards per carry allowed versus running backs this year. That's tied for 28th. One of the worst rush defenses in the NFL. So the Kansas City Chiefs team is built to get out to a big lead and force teams to pass against them. And that's why they did so well against this Baltimore Ravens offense, because they scored on their first 2 drives. And pretty much the whole game, Lamar Jackson had to pass the ball, and his receivers aren't that good, and they had to abandon the run. So San Francisco is really going to want to establish the run against this Kansas City rush defense. It looks like Willie Gay is going to play, and that's going to be huge in stopping guys like Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle. And the Chiefs are 7-0 on the season if they hold teams to under 110 yards rushing. All right, everybody, that's my breakdown of this game. I previewed each side of the ball for each team. I think the Kansas City Chiefs defense might spell a little bit of trouble for Brock Purdy if Purdy and that offense cannot run the ball. Christian McCaffrey is probably going to determine how this game flow works out. If they're running the ball well down Kansas City's throat, I think the 49ers are going to put up points and potentially win this game. But if the Chiefs are able to slow CMC down and force Brock Purdy to throw the ball down the field, I like Kansas City Chiefs' chances. So I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs. I know I said in a lot of my videos earlier to stir up some shit that the Chiefs are going to absolutely blow out the 49ers, but it's probably not going to play out that way. I think it's probably going to be more like a 31-24 Chiefs victory. It might come down to the wire. We'll see what happens. There's some flaws. Both of these teams you can kind of run on a little bit. So whatever team wins up front with their offensive line is going to dictate how the game flow works. I think the team that wins time of possession will win this game. Unless there's a bunch of weird, crazy turnovers. If you can win the turnover game and time of possession, that's how you lock up a Super Bowl victory at Super Bowl 58. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I hope you got something from all this information. I do like the Chiefs money line. That's probably the bet I'm going to make on this game. I'm predicting 31-24. The Chiefs repeat, and unfortunately, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce will be all over the field and we'll all turn off our TVs. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate all of you. Thanks so much for checking out my content all season long. It means the world to me. All my subscribers. I know I like to banter a little bit with everybody in the comment section, but it's all in good fun. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next season. And with all this off-season stuff, I'm going to do a ton of stuff on the draft. Get ready. Thank you. Peace.